All right, what's up, everyone? It's Tokenizer here,
Hey, what's up, everyone, and citizens of the future here?
and today we're just gonna sort of go over some fundamental analysis and just sort of the macro adoption of this digital asset space with you guys today.
Yeah, yeah, we're just talk back and forth about some of the crypto and blockchain projects and see what we see. And yeah, let's start her off.
Yeah. So do you want to just talk about how we got started into this space and maybe like when we hopped in here?
Yeah, I think that would be a good start off topic. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure, I could go first. So I first got into this space around Q3, Q4 of 2020. And honestly, what made me switch over was like I've always been in equities, but I always found the transaction speeds and the settlement for securities just insanely slow. And it always kind of bugged me, but I was kind of just like, all right, I guess you're gonna have to live with it. And until I discovered blockchain and DLT, I kind of always thought that's just the way things were supposed to be. And I guess we're here now, right?
Yeah, totally.
As you guys know, the crypto markets are 24/7, where we don't
365.
actually need anyone to help keep the markets running.
Yeah, yeah, decentralized liquidity pools, as you shall say.
Yeah, peer to peer.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, that's great. At your age, 21, getting in, doing this research, and you're planting foundational seeds at a young age. So you got retirement investments in 5, 10 years, right?
Yeah, hopefully I'll get to retire
Yeah,
earlier than the average age.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. So well, here how I got started was in 2018 February. One of my fellow coworkers that has now been my best friend ever since. He told me, he was like, "Oh man, I've been really researching the blockchain markets," and he really got into digging down the XRP rabbit hole. And he told me about the correspondent banking system and the legacy SWIFT system and how expensive and slow bank wires were, and that's how I first got intrigued, was because I went to go do a wire transfer to my exchange back in 2018, and sure as heck, it took 7 to 10 business days, and it cost me $50 to do one transaction. And I was like, holy smokes, we can send an email instantly, we can send money on PayPal instantly, but we can't send a wire transfer instantly? Like what?
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. I think it was actually the founder of Quant, Gilbert Verdian, who said the internet wasn't ever actually made to hold any money.
Yeah, no, no. It's literally just it's the internet of information. So it's just meant for sending information back and forth, because you got HTTP,
Yeah, exactly.
that's
Like
not
even
secure.
HTTP
Yeah,
hypertext transfer protocol, right?
exactly. And it's not secure for value. And here, one sec. I'll share my screen so we can show people the correspondent banking system and sort of what it looks like to when you make a payment, because I think that would be a good view for people to see. Yeah, so
All right, yeah,
I
you should be
started
good.
digging in. I learned about Bitcoin, I learned about Ethereum, and then I really dug into XRP and the Interledger protocol, and and then that was my main token that I was purchasing way back in the day. So okay,
A lot
so
better now, yeah.
okay, perfect. Well, let's get into this here. So international bank wires, when they send. So if you picture the global system, and when they're sending trillions of dollars worldwide, it gets locked in a Nostro and a Vostro account. And that's just a payment account that they have to hold to stop the double spend problem. So they got trillions of dollars sitting in these Nostro and Vostro accounts worldwide for the payment to settle for the 5 to 10 business days, whatever it takes to get to the other side. And when the money transfers through each and every bank, there's fees that get taken out, correspondent fees, foreign exchange fees, and it's actually a really slow and expensive system. So if you're like me and never sent a bank wire transfer, well, that's the information about it right there. And that's why I think blockchain is one of these revolutionary industries, is because, we can now settle a payment for fraction of a cent and it settles in 4 seconds. It's not waiting 5 to 7 business days. Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually had no idea that those ghost accounts were only made for the reasons of not double spending.
Yeah, no, it's to hold the funds there into, because like that's how they solve the double spend problem, is so Bob doesn't send his $1 million to Alice or whatever. Yeah, that's their double spend protection. It's pretty crazy, pretty broken,
Gotta
like
say,
it's
I'm a bit more
pregnant.
disappointed at our current financial system now.
Oh, totally. We
But
go on.
it's sick that your first, I guess, introduction to crypto was like kind of the utility aspects of it and like how blockchain could help banking, though. Hey,
Oh, totally. Well, yeah, like it was this. We had a deep conversation for days, and we were just going back and forth, and we were like, "This is truly broken. Because why can't banks transfer to other banks and it settle instantaneously? Like if we can do that with crypto, like we could do it with crypto here, but why isn't it updated? Well, it's because the Swift network hasn't been updated since what the 95.
the 90s.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
90s, right? They're running on legacy infrastructure, and well, now we're starting to see updates where Swift's adopting blockchain networks. They got Swift GPI, but Swift GPI doesn't completely settle. It still
Yeah.
has lag time, and yeah, but these last the last almost 4 years in these markets, it's been crazy, because when I first got into it in 2018, I went through a 2 year bear market, man. It was crazy. Some of my assets were down 60, 70% because like I was buying just right after the 2017 bull run. I got introduced and started doing my research, and I think started buying XRP at $1, and then it crashed down to like 25 cents, where I just I did my research. I kept doing more research, and just kept buying assets that I seen utility value over long periods of time. And even I was in the red, but it was like, holy smokes, this is
Yeah.
nuts. This is like I was like, I can't tell anyone that I'm down 70%. I'm still buying because they all thinking I'm crazy, right? But
Yeah, no, one of my favorite lines is just know what you hold and know the real value of it, right? Like the
exactly.
price now doesn't represent what like the network could be in like 5, 10 years,
No,
especially if you like pay attention to who they're working with behind the scenes.
totally. Yeah, exactly. You got short-term price action, then you got long-term price action, and sometimes you just got to ride the wave. Like sometimes you make bad entries, right? Everyone makes bad entries sometimes, but then there's right. Everyone should know DCA, dollar cost average,
Yeah, definitely.
right? And you do that, and it works out in the end. Um, but yeah, where do we want to go next here? So that's how I got into
Uh,
it, and been studying it ever since, and researching, and researching, and
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we're already covering our next point a little bit with the network and tech potential.
totally, yeah, totally. So yeah, tech potential here. Let me see. I'm gonna bring up another document here. Sec. So as we know, we're going through like the blockchain industrial revolution 4.0. If you don't know that, everyone, where industries are being revolutionized, and how that is happening is through
Everything's going digital.
exactly. We got tokenization that's coming in hot. We got AI. We got blockchain. We got the Internet of Things. Cloud computing. Now this is from SBI Group. So if you don't know who SBI Group is, it's a huge bank consortium out in Japan. They use XRP. They're ahead of the Industrial Revolution. So this is a slide from one of their webinars that I found, and it's Society 5.0 for Sustainable Development Goals. So, and when you look at it here, we got how is things changing? We got settlement, remittances, lending, KYC and AML. If you don't know what that is, that's know your customer and anti-money laundering. It's laws that are taking place in some of these regulated networks, so they know there is no terrorism, there is no abuse. They have end-to-end track. They know who's sending money. Blah blah blah. We got blockchain, AI, 5G, big data. These are huge industries. Like big data, if you probably know about big data, right? Where they take huge amounts of data and then they can filter through it, and they can, AI can sift through it, pick whatever they want. They can just analyze mass amounts of information and do stuff with it. Take stuff that was never done before, and they can actually have data sets and study it.
Yeah, definitely. Just the overall potential for this. I guess what draws people into or mainstream media into this space is just the cryptocurrency part, right? But
Totally.
I feel like a lot of times they're missing the total underlying technology in this.
Totally, yeah. No, I agree, because you got the mainstream media, when they talk about crypto, they only talk about the hype stuff, right? They're talking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin.
Shiba Inu too.
Yeah, Shiba Inu, and all this stuff that's so hyped up in the mainstream and marketed. But where's the fundamental technology? Where is blockchain? Why are you guys talking about blockchain and how it's revolutionizing healthcare? How is it revolutionizing land titles? Blockchain and secure voting systems. The music industry, allowing music producers to actually get paid for their songs and artwork, and yeah, there's just so much being revolutionized by blockchain, and mainstream media ain't talking about it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, you definitely highlighted some amazing parts of how blockchain and DLT is going to affect our future industry in the next coming years. But
Totally.
there's also how do you feel about obviously the current NFT markets is all hype driven at the moment,
Yeah.
but I seriously feel in the next like 5-10 years, NFTs are going to be implemented into
Huge.
like our world. Yeah,
Well, yeah, so
definitely.
yeah, so like NFT, sure, like there's a lot of hype around the stuff right now, but it's awesome. It's just people, speculatively spending on things that they value. But if you think about integrating NFTs into, say, land titles, you know, if you own a house and they tokenize that land title as an NFT, so you have all your information attached to this token, and then that's used for settlement compared to, like, for example, where I live, when you buy a house, I got to pay a property transfer tax, which, we bought a house for $600,000. We had to pay 11 grand for a property transfer tax for them to do the administration and stuff like that. Or you got to pay for a $600 notary to notarize your documents to make sure all this is right about the property you just bought. But if you tokenize your every land title in a town, for say, you can have a flawless flowing transfer system for land titles, because it would settle within 4 seconds, cost fraction of a cent, and it's completely tracked of all the previous owners. So, like, if we went, say, that town for the next 5 years, for the rest of its life, you have it time stamped of who was owning that property throughout the whole version of its life, instead of having to go to the land title office, pull all the information, all the paperwork for that house. I think there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be turned into NFTs. So the perfect example for real world utility of NFTs is Smart MFG, which is a token used in an online custom parts, where they take parts, like a blueprint of a part, and they turn it into an NFT. And so then if you're a buyer and you're looking for this OEM part, all you got to do is you go to this SyncFab website, you find your part, and you custom order it by buying the NFT, and then they ship it to you. It's hard to explain here. One sec. Where is it? Right here. I think
That kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. See, so like part here. So there's a part. This is the part you're ordering. And instead of calling around and you're looking for somebody to build this OEM part, this original part, you go to this SyncFab and you say, oh, this is a part I need. You just hit order, and then this would direct the manufacturer to ship out that part through their ecosystem or whatever, blah blah blah. But yeah, like it's just like taking a blueprint of something, turning it into an NFT, and then if somebody needs to buy it, they can buy that NFT or whatever. It goes to the manufacturer, goes through their network, and gets shipped out to them. But yeah, it's a little deep.
Yeah, definitely. It's just I figured we should cover a bit about NFTs just because I feel like the whole NFTs being digital art at the moment
Yeah.
doesn't quite do it enough justice for
No.
what this technology is going to be in the coming years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%, man. Like it's the start, right? Like we're just getting the start until the ones that are truly building on these NFTs and using the technologies. But the one big thing I really like about NFTs is in play to earn games is when you get it in gaming, because
Yeah, I really like that idea too.
you're playing like I used to play Diablo 3 when I was in high school there, and they had the real money auction house. And so like you're playing for a sword, you pick up this sword on the ground and you can go sell it for $250 real money. And so like that gives you exit liquidity. So say you're playing a game, somebody's no lifing a video game for months of their life, and they're finding all this stuff, but they can end up selling this stuff because it's all NFTs. So now you're getting a sword, you're getting a helmet, you're getting this armor that you can sell for real money to other players who value that in the game to get ahead. And that's
Yeah,
huge.
exactly. Because like there's definitely value in the gaming industry now. Like you can't deny that, right?
No, no, no,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, look at Fortnite, right? Like Fortnite, I think they made how many $1 billion last year, and they don't even have a player to player ecosystem.
Yeah, it's just a whole
It's just
I don't know exactly what you call it, but
it's just people like it's just fans like Fortnite fans spending money on skins and stuff in their video game. That's what's crazy is because now think about a video game ecosystem. You got billions of players. The company's making billions of dollars already, but if they integrate a payment system, a real money payment system, a tokenized ecosystem in their game that players can trade with other players, and they just take a fraction of a fee. Say they take 25 cents. You make a trade with someone, they take 25 cents. That's fair. And then that's bringing in all new revenue from this tokenized ecosystem that they just implemented in their game.
yeah, and then that way like people in the game are like incentivized to keep playing the game rather
Exactly.
than just like beat the game, leave it
Yeah.
cuz
Because now they're
yeah,
making
as
money. Yeah.
yeah, like as a fellow gamer, I'm sure you've had times where you beat a game and you're just like, "All right,
Yeah.
I'm done playing this game now."
Yeah, no, exactly. Because like, well, you unlock all your stuff, but you can't do anything with the stuff. You can't sell it. You can't. It's just stuck to your account, and then when you move on to your next game, well, it dies there and rots, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like if you're a good player at the game or if you're bringing in new players too, like you
Yeah,
should be incentivized for that, right?
totally, totally. And then, so I think NFTs is huge, and like the one big thing is Gala Games, for example. Uh, they've got a bunch of NFT marketplaces and games that have NFTs that you can sell for real money and stuff like that. So
Now, how do you feel about some of these fashion industry brands hopping into NFT and metaverse related things?
oh yeah,
You think that's a
I think that's sweet. It just shows mainstream adoption.
for sure, yeah, but how well do you personally feel like that'll all be adopted?
Oh, yeah, maybe they're just hopping in on the hype train, and maybe they'll leave it. But yeah, it's I haven't really paid too much attention to the. I just see like
That's fair
you get
enough. Yeah,
Coca
it's
Cola,
still
and all these like McDonald's are making NFTs or whatever, and that's about it. I never really followed too much into it.
yeah, fair. The whole metaverse thing is fairly new still,
Oh,
right?
oh yeah. Well, the metaverse thing is deep. Like when you got where you can go shop in a mall and you can see all the stuff in the metaverse while you try it on and stuff like that. It just blows my mind, man. What we're
Yeah,
gonna see.
it's wild and like I it's like the second Mark Zuckerberg hopped in it, it kind of went mainstream, right?
Totally. Oh, totally. Yeah. Once Facebook turned to Meta, then that's when all the hype started going into it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Let's see. So do you want to talk about? So we talked about NFTs. We talked about how we got into this blockchain space. Well, let's talk about the benefits of blockchain and DLT because I think that's what everyone wants to hear. Is
Yeah, yeah, let's do that.
what do they get from having like tokenization? What do they get from using a blockchain, right? And
Yeah,
I think I got the
well,
perfect. I think I
I think
got
we covered a bit into. Oh,
yeah
sorry.
yeah. Sorry, man. Go on. We covered a bit into it.
All right, I'll go. Okay. So yeah, we covered a bit into the benefits of blockchain and DLT as to the financial world, but
Yeah.
there's also the economic incentive of it as now anyone's able to open their own wallet just anywhere in the world, regardless if they have a bank or
Mm,
just
yes.
doesn't
Yes.
matter where they are in the
Right
world,
here,
right?
man. Right here. Perfect example. So, digital finance in the developing world could have a great impact. So, talking about so us, we're blessed. We live in Canada. You know, we live in the States. We live near major banking infrastructure. But
First
there's,
world countries.
yeah, we're first world. But there's many third world countries out there where I have a buddy out in Nigeria who lived in a village where people had to walk an hour and a half. Some people had to walk an hour and a half to take their kids to school every day.
That's
And
just crazy,
they
man.
don't have banks. They don't have banking infrastructure around there. So good luck trying to send a wire transfer over there. So, you know, with these blockchains and with this digital currencies, anyone with a mobile phone can participate in global trade. Which, you know, like look at, they're boosting GDP by 2025 of 6%. They're thinking of a boost of about $3.7 trillion. That's huge for the unbanked. Where is it here? I got another document here. Just give me a sec.
That's a lot of info on there, though. Hey,
Oh yeah, yeah. It's been a
definitely hundreds of hours, I'm guessing.
yeah. It's been a long couple of years doing this on the side. But for example,
Yeah, I bet.
you got Mojaloop. So Mojaloop is working with it's a company off of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in partnership, and their partnership with Ripple, and they've got us settling funds where it's, you know, using a mobile phone to connect to to connect people to the banking networks, which is huge. So already, so check this out. So talking about Mojaloop and seeing how they're creating allowing people to connect to the banking system with just mobile phones. I just want to show you a little bit into Mojaloop. So Mojaloop is partnered with the Monetary Authority of Singapore for advanced financial inclusion, and Mojaloop also won. They won. Their winners were chosen by a panel including experts from the Bank of England, Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructures, DBS Bank Singapore, European Central Bank, Federal Reserve System, Innovative Finance UK, Payments Canada, Swift. So they picked Mojaloop for its solution for bridging the last mile, bringing cross-border payments to users in emerging market economies who rely on mobile money transfer systems. Well, who else are they connected to? So as I showed you in the thing before, they're also connected with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They launched Mojaloop, an open source mobile payment solution. And they officially say they use Ripple's Interledger. If you don't know what ILP is, it's called Interledger Protocol. That's this right here. So, as you know, in these third world countries, they don't have banking infrastructure in a lot of the places. There's like 2.3 billion people that I think are unbanked, or 1.7 billion people that are unbanked. And so Mojaloop uses the Interledger protocol, and the Interledger protocol is obviously it uses XRP, which I'll show you in the next thing because it's an ISO 20022 messaging standard system, and that allows people with a mobile phone to access banking infrastructure. How do we know that the ILP uses XRP? This is from a World Banking document. If you look up the keywords Interledger Protocol, World Bank document, it should come up and you should be able to find it. Interledger, right here. Interledger is an open protocol originally inspired by the Internet Protocol for sending payments across various blockchain networks. It enables the exchange of value across different payment networks using Interledger. The XRP can be sent to someone who wants to receive ETH or USD, or it can be sent to someone who wants to receive Euro. So XRP is the intermediary, the digital bridge currency between these payments. So, for example, USD to BTC, or whether it's BTC to ETH. So yeah, it's huge because, like, look at that. Interledger protocol. Here's more technical diagrams of how the ILP connects through the XRP ledger. So it's definitely going to, mobile payments is huge. Is huge for what's coming to help the revolution to get people accessing global markets. And here's the Mojaloop Foundation right on their site. Ripple, XRP, and Mojaloop creating an inclusive future for everyone everywhere. And they're making it, they call this concept as the Internet of Vision. No, it's the Internet of Value. I don't know, I've never heard the Internet of Vision, but yeah, Mojaloop equals one. One loop for everyone. One system. And, Bill Gates, I don't think Bill Gates is going to deal with digitalized security like the SEC calls it. So, yeah, I think payments are really going to be revolutionized by some of this DLT. And, yeah, and another thing that, so we got the mobile accessibility. We got cheap payments. Another thing about DLT that I love is, it's decentralized through nodes, through consensus, and the anonymous part where, and it's all time-stamped and immutable, and it's accessible all over the world, man. Like that's the one big thing that I love about DLT and blockchain.
Yeah, definitely. Did you want to just quickly go over the immutability of DLT technology just so
Yeah.
everyone kind of gets
Yeah.
how big that really is?
Exactly. So, for example, I think I got a perfect diagram here. I'm just going to find it right here. So, anytime a transaction happens on the blockchain, so right here, how blockchain works. Person wants to send it money to B. A wants to send it to B. The transaction is represented online as a block. So that block gets put onto a node, and that node is a ledger of transactions. So you have these nodes all over the world that have a ledger book of every transaction that happens in real time. So once that's on there, it gets added to the ledger. It cannot be removed. It is there. It's once validated. Once it's validated, the money is sent, transferred. It's transferred from A to B, and there is no changing it. So once it's happened, it's happened. There is no going back, and that is huge because it solves the double spend problem, and two, a good point would be if you have documents at the bank. A bank can only get documents for up to 10 years. Every 10 years, they wash all transactions. They get rid of them. So if you don't have your documents, well, if you did a transaction 10 years ago and you need to get the details for that, it's gone. But with blockchain, we can go back all the way to the first transaction that was ever happened, and you can see it in real time, who's and what address sent it to what address. So that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's actually still people who are sending Bitcoin to Satoshi's Genesis block back in '08.
Yeah. That's
So yeah, that
crazy.
just goes to show you how much just info it can store over the years, right?
Yeah, totally. What else could we talk about here? Is there any other things that you want to touch on before we move on to the next one?
Yeah, I'll touch on this before we head to the next step, but to add on to tokenization, it brings so one common thing with stocks is that most of you guys have probably noticed, but I'll use Amazon stock as an example. If you don't have 3 grand, you don't get to participate in like Amazon's network and their
Yeah.
growth overall.
Yeah. Yeah. I get where you're
And
going with that.
whereas like yeah, but it's just the whole split ownership thing. It doesn't just extend to an individual fractionalized stock though. So if we go back to maybe NFTs as an example, where it's a tokenized ownership of a specific asset, we could take a city block in Manhattan, for example. Well, instead of one person owning it as a monopoly, that can now be divided between hundreds of thousands of people who want to help fund the Manhattan or that city block in Manhattan, and maybe they get rewarded in the revenue that that city block generates.
Yeah, fractionalized ownership of whether it is a building, a land, like a piece of land, or even stocks. You know, you can get fractionalized stocks. So like that's huge because you never been able to do that before. So once they tokenize stocks and other real life assets, you can then split ownership up between 1 to 10 people if you wanted.
Yeah, or even 10,000,
Totally.
right?
Well, and then like look at okay, for example, like let's talk about this. Like housing, the housing market is in such a bubble. I know out in Vancouver area, one little crack shack is going for $2 million. So if you're living in Vancouver, this is in Canada, in British Columbia, Canada, if you want, you know, your entry, say you're a 25-year-old and you want to buy a house, well, you can't really buy a house for $2 million. You can't afford that. But if they had fractionalized ownership, you know, you can get together with say five of your buddies and split it between the five of you, and then that's reasonable. But like, it's still fractionalized ownership. I think is going to be huge whether it comes to land and stocks. So that's a great mention.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And I think it was actually, I think I saw somewhere, there were people tokenizing Lambos.
Oh my God! Well, yeah, yeah. Well, if you're putting $300,000 into a vehicle, like I would be tokenizing it too, man.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, I'm buying a Lambo, but I
especially
still live
once
in my
inflation
mom's
hits the
house.
car markets, right?
Like it's like I'm buying a Lambo, but I still live in my mom's house. Like,
I got 1/5 of the Lambo.
yeah, yeah. I drive this on every Saturday. Yeah, yeah. That's great. Um, let's
But
see.
yeah, overall just fractionalized ownership. I think it's going to be huge in the future, especially with how much of a monopoly some of these things are becoming, right?
Totally, totally, 100%.
You got something you want to share there on that chart?
Yeah. So this was from a slide, 2018 FinTech Week, and this was global goals. I'm sure you know who this is, right? Ben from Constellation, Jorgensen, and just to show, they're talking about the global development goals, the 2030 agenda, but we're taking part in one of the main ones here, industry in innovation and infrastructure, blockchain. So digitalization of markets, global trade, the future of finance. I think is going to be a lot to do with the tokenization, and I just thought this was a cool thing to show people that just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. The mainstream media doesn't like to talk about it, but I think it's happening, and I think I found a lot of information to prove that it's happening, because you wouldn't get some of the top elites talking about this stuff if it wasn't happening. And
Yeah, for sure. And
yeah, go on.
what one thing is a lot of people see banks just talking shit about, I guess, this whole space overall, which I'm sure you've noticed, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So over the
But
4 years,
if you really look,
yeah,
yeah, if you really look at what they're doing though, you'd realize what they're all saying is just bullshit, right? Like,
totally.
for example, Canada or some Canada exchanges actually just took off XRP off their exchanges,
Yeah,
but like the Bank of Canada literally runs on XRP ledger, so it's like
yeah,
we're
yeah,
just kind of copying what the US is doing.
yeah. Well, so first of all, speaking about this topic, um, I think it's really hilarious that all the times throughout history, the mainstream media tells the people to do the opposite. So when the mainstream media is telling you oh, this one's gonna win and this one's gonna lose, it's usually the complete flip side opposite. For example, they were telling people to buy in the 2017 bull run. the mainstream, everyone was buying Bitcoin at all-time highs at $24,000 a token. Banks were like, buy, 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 buy. They're telling people to buy XRP at like $2.54 right before this big crash. So everyone's fear of missing out, buying at all-time highs, and then this huge 2-year bear market happens. And sure enough, when Bitcoin and all these digital assets were at their lows for those 2 years, here's the bank saying, "Oh, it's dead, it's garbage. Oh yeah, stay away. It's nothing but terrorists use these networks." Like, so here everyone missed their best buying opportunity because everyone's following the mainstream news and what's going on there. And they missed the best entry points because the mainstream media is telling them the complete opposite of what they should be doing.
Yeah, exactly. And like, yeah, it's not often the mainstream media is right with any of this finance stuff, hey?
No, yeah. Well, look at
And
I seen that thing of Jim Cramer. Somebody shared a thing of all Jim Cramer's trades or whatever, and they're all like negative 60
yeah,
percent, negative 50%. Like,
and I'm sure. Uh, did you pay any attention to the whole GameStop thing that happened back earlier this year in January?
oh, a little bit. I didn't partake in it or anything, but I remember
No,
seeing
no,
it.
I didn't either. But it was kind of ridiculous the amount of just like big name finance guys that came in supporting the whole GameStop thing and
Yeah,
getting just retail wanting to hop in on this kind of like artificial pump, right?
totally, totally. And then I remember seeing that like there's a couple billionaires that were saying, "Oh, it's really unfair that the retail are all sticking together to to
Oh yeah,
team
that was
up."
on the news.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's like, they're all sticking together, and it's very unfair to us institutional investors that do this for a living. And it's like, are you kidding me? You guys have been teaming
You guys
up
have been
and
doing this shit for
yeah, you
years.
guys have been doing this shit for years and then paying these tiny little $1 million fees while you're raking in billions of dollars and you only pay the fees when you get caught. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? The one time retail does it, you guys are bitching and complaining like you're little boys. And so I think it was hilarious. I thought it was awesome that that short squeeze happened and it wiped out billions of dollars of revenue for those guys. And oh yeah, that made me laugh. I was
Yeah,
laughing my ass
I
off.
think one hedge fund actually folded.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember that. I can't remember the name of them, but yeah, I thought that was
No, I
hilarious.
mean neither, but
Yeah. Let's see here. Um,
about time we see some stuff like that, right?
oh, totally, totally. And that's, you know what? It's only going to grow, right? Like, it's only going to grow because we just keep building networks and hopefully we can do what they're doing to us somehow. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's the dream,
definitely.
right?
Were there any specific networks you might have wanted to touch up on a bit while we're on this?
Let's see. So my favorite networks are Quant, XRP, XDC. Um, what else? I own a little bit of HBAR. Um, a little bit of VeChain. There's so many, man. But like I like ISO 20022 tokens. Those are my favorite.
That's fair. You can't go wrong with the
Yeah,
ISO 202 coins, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's like those are just they're almost like programmed for success.
Totally, totally, man. Like, well, when you see like, and like ISO 20022 is a messaging standard, right? Like it's rich messages. Like
Yeah, it's a
when they send
messaging.
yeah, when they send a bank wire, they could barely fit in a couple sentences in the comments of the bank wire transaction. But with ISO 20022, they can they could put in invoices. They can attach things to it. They can attach images if they wanted to, right? Like there's so much more stuff that they can add to settle in these tokenized transactions. That's what I think is
Yeah,
great.
definitely.
Yeah. Um. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the projects I'm interested in are fairly similar.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah.
you've actually gotten me diving a lot deeper into XTC lately.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, man. It's that's there's so
It's
much
it's a lot,
information.
yeah.
There's so much information, and there's so little time. And like I've spent hundreds of hours just creating the content Well, one, to help people in the community, because my buddy didn't tell me in 2018 to research this shit. Well, I would have never researched this shit, and then I would have never been able to make hundreds of percents, thousands of percent gains if it wasn't for that conversation, or to have something ignite that fire in my head. So that's why I started creating this content, is because I want to help a hell of a lot of people see this stuff before the switch gets flipped and before we see this huge utility bull market. And I still think I think we will see one day a red storm of hell before we get to the sunshine and rainbows.
Oh, without a question,
Yeah,
especially just the amount of money we've printed the past 2 years,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
there's going to be consequences.
Oh, totally, totally. And but it's just the fact that we're accumulating things that are going to be used in the future for these financial systems, and like the one thing I love about crypto is they ain't printing anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
Like the
definitely. Like,
perfect COVID was the perfect thing to really show the government's true colors, because one, we haven't got to see their spending. Well, we've got to see how much they printed, but we don't get to see where they spend it, where it goes to. We don't get to see the end-to-end tracking. They give out all these billions of dollars in bailouts and stuff like that, but us as citizens of the countries, we don't get to follow and see the receipts. I know the Bank of Canada lost, I think it was $8 billion for their industrial infrastructure spending that they said they spent, but they can't prove where it went. So it's like, how does a government not know where they spent the money? you know?
as a fellow Canadian, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, yeah. Like I heard in Canada here, the governments don't have. There's different offices, and they don't share ledgers, so they don't know what this office spent on, what this other office spent on. There is no interbookings for their spending, so that's how they lost the money. Is because, oh, I don't know where the money went. This office, no, maybe this office. But then it's like, this is so sick and twisted. And like, I think that's why all this printing is happening, because we're going to see central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, and when we see CBDCs, they're not going to be able to funnel this money like they have been. So I think they've been printing, and they're going to funnel as much out of the system as they can before central bank digital currencies, because as soon as central bank digital currencies come into play, it's going to be a lot more transparent. There is not going to be as much money getting lost in the system.
That's a really interesting thought that you put, where they're printing all the money they can now to funnel into the new system.
Yeah.
I've never thought of that, but that makes perfect sense.
Well, like it, when you have, like, if you could print as much money as you can and then hide it wherever you want, because they're giving it out to businesses, they're giving it out to wherever, and they don't have to keep receipt. Like, they're not keeping receipts because we don't get to see their full audit. So why the hell not? I know Trudeau's. He gets it from his dad on how he just spends, and it's disgusting, and it grosses me out, and I just can't wait to see a transparent financial system. That's what I want to see. So I hope CBDCs come into play, and we get some sort of transparency, because it's the way it is right now. It's broken and it's sick.
Yeah, definitely.
And another, well, here actually there was DLT right here. So remittances. So this was talking about it's time to fix cross-border payments. So this is going back a little bit. So, well, why do we need to fix cross-border payments? We told them they're expensive. It's ridiculous. Chiefly because the compliance risk of customer due diligence, banks do not know their customers, and the fear of being fined for breaches of anti-money laundering. So with the current system, with their KYC and the AML that the current legacy banks have to do, it costs them billions of dollars a year for compliance. Like, it costs them to audit transactions, for all this stuff. It costs them billions of dollars a year. And let's see, it takes remittances worth $707 billion passed through the system in 2019. So if you think about $707 billion and US $529 billion to people in low to middle income countries, at an average cost of 7% in transaction charges. So that's huge. Like 7% is a huge fee. And I know cross border payments have a 6% fail rate. So out of the 6% of all transactions that go through the Swift network, they fail. And when they fail, that costs banks billions of dollars. So, as we're talking about payments, this was from Identity Investor presentation. So, missing information is a $9 trillion problem for banks and corporates. $9 trillion. So that's huge for just having like payment failures. Investigations.
Yeah, that's 3 times the size of our markets today.
Yeah, exactly. Look at US, $2 trillion laundered globally every year. So it's hilarious that you see all these elites and you see all these people saying, "Oh, crypto is only used for money laundering." Are you kidding me? The US dollar is used for money laundering every fucking day. Right? Like
Yeah,
there's more money
exactly. And
laundered in
you can
US.
find
Yeah, go on.
you can find tons of articles about HSBC just being notorious for money laundering too.
Yeah. Yeah, and like that's what make me sick is because just because you have a currency network, there's going to be money laundering anywhere you go. But at least with crypto, you can track end to end. When it goes to an exchange and it's going on your off ramp, your on or off ramp. Well, there's ID to all that. So if it's going to the
Yeah,
on or off
exactly. And
ramps, at least it's trackable. Like
yeah, the whole non-traceable stuff they say about Bitcoin and stuff, it's bullshit. It just shows
totally,
like they never did any research, right? Like
totally.
the point of this is that everything is traceable.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, like, look at the people that hacked the pipeline. They got caught. Like,
Yeah.
so crazy. Yeah. And look at this. Yeah. US $9 trillion of liquidity is locked up on supplier balance sheets. And yeah, they're just talking about how much money they could save. And it's just like, it's crazy. So when you get a flawless system, like look at XRP. XRP, for example, they've closed probably near I think 90 million transactions or something like that with no fail rate. If you get a network like these networks like HBAR and Algo that have no failure rates and that they're reliable and they've got regulated entities, I think they're going to succeed long run, right? Because it's just institutional adoption. When you got that institutional adoption, it's going to take money from the SWIFT system, and that's what they don't want. Is because all the money that's in the SWIFT system is through the Federal Reserve. It's they're controlling how much you're making as a person. They're limiting you, but with crypto, we're partaking in global liquidity pools, and that's why we're making so much money. Is because back in the day before Web 3.0 and these blockchain markets, these markets like this were only available to institutional investors, right? Like, if it was my grandpa, he wouldn't be able to open up his computer and partake in global, like in these huge global pools of money where, you got millions of people participating, right? Like, the only person that could do that is if you went to a bank and you're like, hey, I want to invest in something. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll put you in this pool here. Or we'll put you in this stock or this, right? Like, that's why this is so evolutionary, is because we have access to global liquidity that used to be only accessible to institutional investors. And then that's why we're making so much money now. And the bank's only paying us 0.25% because the banks are corrupt. They're keeping all the profits and not even giving us any money for inflation.
To add on to what you were saying about how we've never had an opportunity like this to invest in a global market, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But on top of just a global market, this is an asset class that's started out of nowhere that retail got a chance to invest in.
Totally.
That's just utterly unheard of. And I don't think there's going to be another opportunity like this again.
No, I
And
think I think it's the one time, man. Like this is the one time. Every day is a new day, and it's just it's growing by the day. Time's ticking.
yeah, for sure. And it's like it all just sounds so crazy, all happening in the moment, right?
Totally. Well, like to think about Bitcoin actually gave us freedom. it gave like when it first started, that was the start of open finance where it just
Not
like you
just
didn't
even
need it.
open finance though, right? But like
You didn't need an
true
intermediate.
ownership
Yeah,
too.
you didn't need an intermediary. You didn't have to go to a bank, tell the bank, "Hey, I want to send $50 here." No, you can open up your phone or your computer, and you can send $50.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like back to the true ownership thing. It's like the bank doesn't own your money anymore. It's
No.
whoever owns if you own it in a wallet, this is if whoever knows those 12 to 24 words of your wallet knows who the wallet is, and no one else has custody of that besides whoever you show, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly, man. It's
Because
crazy.
yeah, like Bitcoin came out of the '08 crisis,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
was largely due to everyone just not knowing who owned what.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. It was a true start. It was a new beginning, and then everything's just being built, and it's crazy, man. I love it.
Now you wanted to talk a bit about a super cycle, right? Or something about that, I think you read, or that I read in the messages.
I was just talking about. I was gonna say just like adoption cycle. Like we're in exponential growth phase, where the look at the network effect. Right, we've seen over the years the craziest network effect for
Yeah,
blockchain,
definitely.
and I think it's only gonna keep exponentially growing as more and more people figure out about it, figure out how to use it, how to take their assets in their own hands, so they're not dealing with getting robbed at the bank. Because like there's so many people out there that holding their money in a high risk or a high percentage savings account that is getting a quarter percent, half a percent, and like they don't even understand what inflation is. If inflation's at 8%, and you're getting a quarter percent, you're losing 7.5% a year, or a half
Yeah,
percent, right?
exactly. That's
Like
that's a point I try getting across to just a lot of people I talk to.
totally. Well, like look at if you have $100,000, like people don't care if it's $1,000. Like oh, 7.5%. But if you think
Yeah.
about it in the bigger picture, $100,000, 7.5%, you're losing $7,500 a year of purchasing power,
Yeah.
right? Like
And
that's
just for having a quote unquote safe place to store your money too, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
is it really all that safe
No.
if you're losing on 7.5%?
Yeah, no, and that's just the consumer price index. That's what the numbers they want us to see. That's
Yeah,
that
and
doesn't even count, real estate costs. That doesn't count wages that are going. You got construction wages that are going up. You got so much stuff that isn't in that consumer price index
oh, for
that's
sure.
going
Yeah.
through the fucking roof.
Yeah, and one interesting fact is the CPI index, apparently how we measure it now
Yeah,
is much different from how we do it before.
yeah,
I can't exactly remember how we did it before, but if
yeah.
we do it the old way, where inflation's actually sitting closer at 14 to 16%.
Oh, I bet, I bet. There we go.
You couldn't make it any more obvious.
Yeah, and like here, I did a visual for people that they can screenshot. But yeah, it's just like here's your money. Here's your $100,000 in the bank. They're paying you your quarter percent interest. You're losing if it's at 8%, then you're losing right here. You're $92,750. So you're losing 7.75% from inflation at national banks. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's a good example just to show everyone
yeah,
like
yeah.
bank accounts aren't all that safe.
No, no, yeah. Hey, if your money's not making 8%, you're losing money. So make sure you tell
Exactly, yeah.
everyone, because this is I don't understand why mainstream media doesn't talk about what's actually going on. But it's funny, they blame COVID, they blame the climate crisis, global warming, but they don't blame the unlimited printing that's going on from the governments. No, don't blame
Well,
that. That's nothing to do with inflation, right? If I increase the money
well,
supply
who do you
by
think gives
thirty
them the news,
percent,
right?
yeah. Well, oh, you want to see who gives them the news? Back out here. Look at I did this diagram here. Okay, so an event happens. Okay, so this is where it comes into my place here. An event happens. The government and the 1%, they shape what they want us mainstream media to see. Right. So here we go. So they put the news to the mainstream
Oh,
media.
you're just cutting out a bit again
Oh,
on the
okay.
audio.
That's okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, you're good
Yeah.
now.
Okay. So yeah, so they create the news that they want the public to see. So then the mainstream media then projects it into the television that we all watch, right? So what do they talk about? They talk about COVID-19. They talk about negative events and propaganda that pushes their theory. And so you get the average mainstream potato. That's all they watch. That's how they build their life, is just by watching the news. Well, what do they get out of it? They get fear, they get hate, they get hate against the unvaxxed. They get anxiety. They get no personal growth, right? Like when you're watching TV 24/7, what do we get benefit from it? We don't benefit fuck all. And this is what they cover up. I'll get into this
Yeah,
first,
that's a really good point.
right? So I notice what they cover up is, I've only learned all my information from the freedom of the information on the internet, but they cover up central bank digital currencies. I've never heard in the mainstream media talk about CBDCs. They rarely talk about blockchain or DLT. They talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the hype shit tokens that nobody really cares about. Then there's the Maxwell sex trafficking case. You know what's funny is they would talk about Kyle Rittenhouse and all these broke people. They'll talk about on CNN for weeks, but then as soon as there's this billionaire sex trafficking ring, they rarely even talk about it. I think I see maybe one or two mentions on the news, and it's like nothing. They don't talk about what's happening in the case. They don't say who's involved. Like Bill Clinton was on the flight list to Epstein's Island for 26 times. Why isn't he tagged as a witness, And then where's the ways of self-improvement? They don't talk about how to improve your life. They don't say, "Hey, take some vitamin E. Hey, take some vitamin D. Hey, do exercise cuz you're in a pandemic." You know? So
Yeah,
right? Like it's just like I think of that and it's just like holy this is corrupt. This is so corrupt because
Ye-
majority of people they look at the news and the news puts you in this trap, right? It just keeps you in this cycle. But yeah.
definitely, man.
Yeah.
And it's like the main sources of news come from the States, right? You'd agree?
Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, right here. This is it right here.
Yeah, and that's the one country where money talks the most. And it's like if you want your news headline covered or just get it out there, well, money will do it for you.
Totally. Well, and then look at this. There's this. Anyone can search it if you just search the American Empire and its media. It's called the Swiss Propaganda Research. But there's these three things: Bilderberg meetings, Council of Foreign Relations, and the Trilateral Commission. And then if you look, they're all part of all these different networks. You got CNN, you got NBC, you got Fox, and it's all controlled. So these three companies control the narrative between all the networks, right? So this is how they're pushing their narrative is these three companies push this narrative to all these different networks.
Your Wi-Fi good?
Yeah, can you hear me? Was it cutting out, bro? Hello?
Yeah, it seems like every time I ask you again, you stop cutting out though.
Oh my god. Yeah, shit. Sorry. God darn internet. But yeah, that's what I think
It's
is
all good.
crazy. It's just like
No worries.
yeah, I'm getting connection unstable. But yeah, so I just thought I'd share that because that I just created those just for to try and open up some people's eyes because like I quit watching TV 2 years ago. Like I don't watch I watch Netflix with fiance, but that's about it. And I leave
Yeah,
the
that's
rest out of
fair.
it
Did you
because
make this chart all yourself?
not this one. I found this one, but I made the one below. I made this here.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Holy smokes! Yeah, we're an hour in, so I think we should probably.
Yeah. Yeah, anything else you want to cover up quickly or?
I don't think. I think we had a good just back and forth. I don't know. Should we just close her up?
Yeah, I'll share one quick fact quickly.
Yeah, buddy. Let's hear it.
Yeah. But so crypto's This is all from my inspiration, Raoul Pal,
Yeah.
great global investor.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah,
you heard of him?
yeah. I have.
Yeah,
Yeah, I follow him.
yeah, big fan of him. But so he says the crypto's at about 150 million global users today.
Yeah,
So when the internet was at about the same number, 150 million, it was in about 97,
yeah.
and the internet was growing at about 63% a year.
Okay.
Can you take a guess at how fast crypto's growing year over year at the moment?
Oh, it's exponential. I know that. It's probably just. I bet you it matches up to the growth of the internet.
Matches up. So you think about 63%?
Yeah, I'd say so. What do you think? What is it?
113%.
Woo! Damn, that's hot. I
So this
like it.
thing's growing at twice the speed of the internet, and it's just crazy.
Totally. And well, like that's we got to really take a step back and just appreciate that how fast that it's going to continue growing because with all this distrust in the government and everything going on, I think a lot of people are going to open their eyes to learning new things. Well, they should be because this digitalization is the future.
Yeah, for sure. I hope so. And it's just like everyone's so used to the current system, they don't see what's wrong, right?
No, no, exactly. Well, like
Yeah, but
when you're
once
born,
you zoom out, you're
yeah, once you're born into a system, it's hard to look any other way than what you're used to growing up and seeing, right? So it's a bit of a mindset change you have to do to sort of accept what is coming and what is happening.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like personally, I'm really excited to just watch the growth over the next 3 to 5 years and just even the next decade.
Oh, totally. 100%. Me too, man. And guess what? We're going to be here making content, continue making content to help people. And this is just a start, right? Like we're just getting our foot in the door to help educate others other than just teaching ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. It's like every piece of content I make, I'm still learning new stuff myself too.
Totally. Totally. And then you know what? When you create content, you're even teaching yourself because you're thinking of ways to teach other people. And when you're doing
Oh, no
that,
doubt. Yeah.
it's just it's a part of the learning process, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think you can truly call yourself a master at something until you can explain what something is to like a 5-year-old.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Alrighty, well, citizen of the future, I think we're gonna close the book, close the chapter for tonight, and I hope everyone
Yeah,
got some
awesome chatting with you.
good information out of here, and we'll leave it at that.
All right, so yeah, it's Tokenizer, and it was awesome having citizens on the podcast today.
Hell
This
yeah!
probably won't be the last time we hear from him, but as for now, that's all we've got for you guys today.
Boom! Cheers, guys. Keep researching, keep learning. Don't ever give up.